Okay. So what I'm up to this far is a machine that has a machine that has the ability to make groups like Facebook. Whoop-de-doo, that's nothing. You can have members just like Facebook. And you can put videos and text and pictures, and you can talk about things in your feed. Whoop-de-doo, it's nothing new, right? Okay, so if you think about the way that people interact, then just broadcasting your thoughts or pictures or videos, that's the most basic form of interaction. What about asking people questions? I mean, there is voting on Facebook, right? You can interact in many different ways. So, what else can you do on Facebook? I don't know. I haven't used that platform in a while, but in your group, can you differentiate and create different types of members? Can you create different roles and assign them tasks? I mean, it sounds kind of like a company. I don't think so. So, I was struggling with how to present this. Like, how do I explain to people what is possible in terms of interaction? And I think that beginning with like a comparison and contrast to the Facebook structure is maybe a good way to go, good way to start. So when you enter the site, then you can see your feed, you can see your data, you can see your pictures. But I think in life, you think about times you're productive and times you're resting. It's kind of like yoga. Sometimes you take a breath in, sometimes you take a breath out. Breath in might be something like the times that you're working and growing and improving, and the times that you're breathing out might be the times that you're relaxing and not really being productive. So I think mostly what Facebook does, and mostly what social apps are doing, are not really creating a strong incentive for people to communicate in a productive manner. I mean, to get things done or to grow or to learn. Most of it's just social. Seeing what people are up to and kind of browsing. But anyways, you got to start somewhere. I think that's, the logical place for people to be starting, just to be broadcasting ideas and issues. And so I think the next step after that is what I've been building. So I think when people enter the site, they should see something that looks kind of like Facebook, kind of like Instagram, kind of like TikTok. They can come in and they can create content, upload content, deliver content. They can make friendships and they can make groups. And these groups can give access to like visibility for different like chunks of content, right? Okay, so what's next? That's basically just creating a group that has members in it. I think the next factor is to add the ability to add roles. So within a group that's, doing something more aggressive than simply watching a feed, maybe they're a company, maybe they're an organization, maybe they're a nonprofit, maybe they want to get something done. So then let's say you're the person who does, whatever, I don't know, requisition, the purchasing of food. Maybe your job is cooking the food, maybe your job is cleanup. Maybe they're different roles, right? So in any functional organization that's going to get something done, then we need to create rules. So then, let's say you have a restaurant, for example. Then within this setting, sure, there are members, there are people that belong to the restaurant, and then also there are people that 잠깐만요. 218동.
저기 말좀 볼게. 214동이 어디 있나요? 지하주차장 이쪽 방향으로.
야, 화이팅. 안녕히 계세요. 오케이, 바이바이. So you got your functional feed with information that's not really calling to action. It's just displaying information that people consume, mostly, right? So then the next thing is to create roles. And in a simple setting with not many members, maybe you don't really have much maybe you don't have much need for organizational structure, right? Maybe you don't need a marketing group, finance group, distribution, supply chain, acquisitions, M&A. Maybe you're just starting something small, so maybe you don't need any organizational structure. So at least you would have the ability to create roles, and you can assign people to those roles to say that this person is a chef, and this person is the cleaner, and this person is an accountant or whatever. And maybe people can be assigned to more than one roles. So then you have roles. Okay, that's great, but that doesn't really meet the functional needs of like a company or organization that has some mission that's wanting to do something, right? So if you have more people, then you should be able to create groups within groups. I mean, that's an org chart, right? To say here are divisions within a company, or here are units within an organizational structure, like a nonprofit. So then you can create a branching system of groups within groups, like nested groups, and you can assign people to roles within those. You can assign people to roles within those settings. Okay, so once you've got that done, then I guess the next thing is you need to create like actions or sequences of actions for people to do, and also your knowledge base that I've talked about before. So maybe the first thing, I mean, I was kind of doing it backwards, presenting this to folks backwards, like, hey, first set up your organizational structure, and then and then create roles, and then you can assign roles to your organizational structure, and then you can, put people into those assigned roles within the organizational structure, but that's like way too complicated for people. So maybe the best way, I don't know, maybe there's many ways, I don't know. So maybe a good way is to create something that's familiar. So Facebook and Instagram are certainly familiar concepts. And so once that's up, once there's like a feed going and people are patched into their flow of data and they're kind of comfortable with saying, here's my day, here's my breakfast, here's my picture of my scone and my cup of coffee. And once they make a couple groups to say, hey, everybody in my church, here's my new bicycle, or everybody in my school, here's my bibbidi bobbidi boo, or everybody in my whatever. So they get used to doing group. That's nothing big. Things that explore the interests that they're passionate about. Here's my soccer club, here's my badminton, whatever. Once they do that, then we expose them to the idea that, hey, within this group, does this group have a mission? Does it have a goal? And if so, do you have different, do people have jobs? Do they have different jobs? You can create roles. And within those roles, you can create tasks for people to do. And you can monitor the progress of those tasks. That kind of seems more friendly in terms of like how we're going to get people to get used to this thing, right? And if they want to just keep this thing looking really Instagram-y or Twitter-ish. So YouTube is like an archive system where people can spill their guts. But TikTok is like the Twitter of YouTube. It's something short. I think Twitter, and I'm guessing that Twitter and TikTok were things that were created because there was an appetite for the ability to create something short and quick. So Instagram, Pinterest, maybe Pinterest is like, you know, the kind of Twitter and TikTok equivalent, and then Pinterest, whatever it's called, Pinterest, whatever, and then so we need to apply all of that functionality so people can say, hey, nani, here are my pictures, my videos, my sounds, my music, SoundCloud, bibbidi bobbidi boo, like that. And then also, I'm doing all those things. I'm enjoying all the content that I enjoy with all the people that I enjoy. And also, I have the ability to create function. So we're almost at the end of the tree, this tree that I was thinking about. So then we can create functional areas for people. We can assign tasks. We can monitor that. Kind of like project management, right? And then within that system of like project management, we can also have the knowledge base that I spoke about on a previous session, so that when we say, you know, hey, within this organizational setting, we want somebody to be learning something, then, you know, then we can hand it off to them, and then the algorithm in the machine can say, hey, and follow up and make sure that they're learning the things that they're supposed to be learning. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so begin with a feed or a blog. I mean, a blog is also like another setting where people can feel like they're interacting with stuff, right? So anyways, we need to do something that's not complicated for people, or they're going to reject it. Or, I mean, as my boss in product development used to tell me, like, if a feature can't be found, it doesn't exist. Or if a feature of a product can't be perceived, then it does not exist. It functionally doesn't exist. So we have to find the developmental pathway for users that will let them, like sink comfortably into the hot tub of functionality, that will let them slowly, at their own pace, get used to the functions and introduce them to the functions that are going to help them expand, help them get things done. How many people are spending their time in social media and stuck there doing almost nothing? I mean, what gets done in social media? Not much. I mean, sure, maybe some information about political interaction is populating through these feeds, and some things get done in that way. Maybe in that sense, just pure information is what is needed, right? And in that way, bravo, it's critical. But for many, many other areas, I think many people are just being lulled into this like sleepy, hollow situation where they're not really acting, they're not interacting, because they're kind of addicted to this platform that's causing them to be inert, to be non-interactive. Okay. So a feed it is. I mean, if you're working with a curriculum with tasks that are being presented to you, then this is the feed that you're experiencing. So I guess maybe like the feed that you're looking at, I mean, at YouTube, there's the kind of like, there's your universal feed, right? Stuff from everybody's coming into you, okay. So in your feed here, you could have stuff that's coming into you from people's like social feed, and you know, SNS, social network system. So maybe there's FNS, like functional network system, because social is like certainly not, I mean, it is productive in some cases, but it's not really designed for and purposed for like being functional, getting things done, creating missions, creating tasks, and getting things done. So maybe there's an FNS in addition to SNS, functional network system, social network system. Yeah, maybe. So then, like, how does that work? Are they integrated? I guess they could be integrated. I guess we should have potentially an option to say, my feed has social and tasks. And how do we incentivize people to like want to attend to the tasks? I mean, people goof around in YouTube for long periods of time. Maybe they have no mentor, or AI algorithm that's trying to motivate them to do stuff. I mean, I think that algorithm is just trying to motivate them to sit there and consume data so they can push ads in front of their eyes, right? So what about a mixed feed That could be social and productive. You know, you come across a question, you see a picture, you come across a question, you come across a task, you do a task, you get some data. That could be interesting. Maybe somebody just wants to see social. Maybe they just say, I just want to rest, get off my back. Maybe some people just want to work, like don't distract me with like content that is social in nature. Just let me do my tasks that I've been assigned to. So in a company, maybe it's not so productive to be looking at your social network content. Ooh, nice. Okay. So this feed, this stream, I think it's a stream. Let's call it a stream. A feed? A feed? A stream? Yeah, a feed? Data feed? Stream. I like the concept of stream. And then my main my main window, the brunt of the data that's flowing across my screen, let's call that a stream, unless I rename it, okay? And then are there like tabs at the top you can like click on and off, like show me data, show me social, hide social. But if you're at work, right? Work should include like work should include celebratory content, like pictures from your coworkers or that kind of thing. So is that like spooky? Is that social in nature? I mean, if you put a picture of your colleagues up and it's joyful, does that mean it's not productive? And then that gets put into your feed? But I think maybe like your work feed, your work social feed is not the same as your family social feed, is not the same as your like clubbing social feed or other feeds. So, okay, maybe within each group there's things that are social and things that are productive. How do you distinguish? I don't know. Think about that later. So, okay. How do you distinguish? How do you distinguish? Well, I mean, if it's a corporate gig and there's like some joyful things, then there should be certainly spaces within that, like your productive stuff, your team, and then like celebration, like the yeah, like maybe it's called like the lounge or something like that. Maybe it's called, I don't know, maybe it's called the lounge or the break room or the, I don't know, cafeteria, something like that, some name, I don't know. So maybe there's like your desk, like maybe it's like your desk in your meeting room and the social like aspect of a lounge or bulletin board kind of thing, right? Or scrapbook. Yeah, anyways, whatever, let's just get that started. Okay, so what do I need to do when I go and sit back down? Okay, so in the constructor for the super administrator who's going to be creating their content, creating their groups, right? Maybe they don't want to see all that. What are the roles? What are the areas? They have no idea. At first, they just see it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could be really small. So I think we need to create the feed. So then it would begin with, my feed is like my egg. It's my like incubating place where if I don't have any friends, I can put my posts, my videos, my blah, blah, blah. That's my feed. That's my own stream. Okay. So we begin with that. So I can practice making sure that I know how to like populate a stream with content. That's okay. That's not a problem. Okay, so once that's done, then we can say create a group up at the top, just like Facebook does. Okay. And then also adding friends. Okay. And you can get stuff from friends. Like, I don't know how Facebook works. Like, do you get all the content? Like, if you have a friend named Bob, do you see all of Bob's content? I mean, unless he's filtered you out. Like, that's a lot of content from all your friends. Like, what if you have 500 friends? Do you have like the content of 500 people zipping through your feed every day? Holy crap, that's crazy. Maybe there should be some sort of like exemplar, like to say, hey, I'm very proud of this, or I love this content, or I want to share this content, some sort of thing. I mean, every picture of my coffee and tea that I have for breakfast and every shirt that I put on, do I need to have everybody see that? Like, that's stupid. So maybe it's like, if I love Bob and I want to know all about Bob, maybe still I don't want to see every t-shirt that he puts on in the morning, right? So maybe like, what's the quick and dirty like nomination thing? Like, it's some sort of, maybe if Bob loves it, or if Bob likes it, or if Bob, like like wants to share it, then that content goes out. But then all the other content, like, maybe like not everybody has to see that. So how do we differentiate that? I don't know. There's got to be some way to think about that. Anyways, so then we start with the feed. I create my feed. I create friends, and then I make it so that I can see their stuff. So I guess, like, what is a friend? I mean, is that a group? What the heck? I mean, a corporation is a big group, right? But all my friends are not in one group, because maybe some friends don't know or like each other. So each friendship is a friendship. So a friendship is a group of two people. Is that how that works? So then I'm subscribed to like 500 different groups. I guess that's how it works. Maybe that's how it works. Let's see how let's make that how that works. Okay, so my goal is to create a structure let's begin with social. It's like a blog, right? A blog's a different setup. We could of course do that. That's like making a presentation. Yeah, we could do that, but I think the stream is more conducive to like tasks and is it to-do list? Not really. That's not true. A blog is more similar to a task list, because it's a non-rolling thing that you jump into and you view. A blog and a to-do list. So then okay, so then never mind the to-do thing. Let's just start with social. I can put my posts, and then other people can put their posts, and then we can become friends, and then I can get the content from other people, and I can choose to see it or not see it. And I can choose to show mine to people. I can choose to block people. I can show my content to everybody who comes, if they come to my feed, or just how like Facebook does it. They've got it figured out. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, okay, do that. So the first goal is I make my feed, friends make their feeds, we make friends and see each other's feeds. The profile concept. So within the account you can have several different profiles. That's a concept that I'm working with. So say one thing is for church, and one thing is for clubbing, and one thing is for getting really drunk. If I don't like to drink, but some people like to drink, right? Maybe I wouldn't want people from church seeing my drink and drunk poster pictures, and I wouldn't want people from, and vice versa, right? So then when you make friends with somebody, you're essentially creating a group that is a relationship, that is two people, that is with that friend, that profile, that one facet of that character, not all the stuff. Unless you could say like universal friend, that's cool. So then that person would have like universal access to all your facets, all your profiles. So within one account, perhaps there's like a mom and two kids. And that's good to know within that setup, because then we can say like, here's the mom and here's the kids. And then when you join a Hagwon, when you join an academy, right, then mom should be one of the informed people on the activities of the student, so that when the teacher's giving homework to the students, the mom doesn't see the homework, but they can see the progress. Yeah, that's kind of an executive like upper end thing of how we can communicate, like a meta. Okay, so anything else? There's a big ass construction zone around here, so I don't know what this is going to be. Maybe a baseball field? I don't know. Okay, so go back, make a feed. I mean, that's not a big deal. So what do we want in this feed? Like, is it like Twitter? Do we want to do like a Twitter? Like if we wanted to do like, not Pinterest, that's like a different concept, but the concept of TikTok, not really related to the feed. I mean, it could be later, but Twitter, certainly that's kind of like a feed style running thing that's just text, right? Huh. What's the parallel to Twitter? I mean, I think Facebook makes a lot of sense because what I'm thinking about in terms of education and tasks is certainly related to that. Is Twitter like a cracked out email flow? Okay, so Facebook, that makes sense. So what do I want people to put there? Well, just basics. Video, sound, links, sure. Video, sound, links, pictures. So what about tagging? Oh, like never mind that for now. For like the viable product. Okay, this is a quick and dirty thing. Should just take just do it in an hour. It's not a big thing. And then we already have the friend constructor thing. So when I add a friend, I mean, is it add a friend or add a contact? Because if it's add a friend, then we would need another structure for what happens when you join a group, right? And I mean, adding a contact, like that's not as nice as adding a friend. So, okay, so maybe it's just like making a group, joining a group, and adding a friend. Yeah. But then what about LinkedIn? So LinkedIn, those are not friends. You're adding a contact, but it's not a business group. It's just a contact, right? So what's that all about? So do we have to have like add it, you make a group, join a group, add a friend? Oh, I guess when you search on Facebook, then you search for something and you can click through the tabs like I'm looking for a contact, a friend. I don't know how that works. I gotta check it out. Or like an organization. Yeah. Searching for. So that's kind of like joining or connecting with. Maybe it's like searching for and then create. Create a what? Well, just create a group. I mean, the only thing you're creating are groups, right? Anything else? I don't know. Okay, groups. Okay. So, searching for. Oh, yeah. So the LinkedIn or the Facebook social stuff, like that network, how does that work? So I think it's like nodes. So Kevin Bacon's like 7 steps from me or something like that. So then there's all the people in my circle, and there's all the people in say Bob is my friend, and then all of the people in Bob's circle, and I have the right to like reach out to them because I know Bob. I don't know, we need to have some like sort of filter thing. Let's see how that works. How does it work on LinkedIn? Like if I want to talk to one of Bob's friends, can I just like talk to them right away? Or do I need Bob to talk to them to talk to me? Or if it's like one away, it's okay. And if it's like 2 jumps away, I need an introduction from Bob. I don't know. Anyways, figure it out. Create a feed, create friends. Add friend is like subscribe to a channel, right? Subscribe to a group, join. Subscribe to a channel is like joining a group. So then you hit the bell icon, and that's pushing a notification about the arrival of new content. That kind of goes back to the Facebook concept about maybe I don't want to see every shirt that Bob puts on in the morning or every breakfast that he ever takes a picture of. So if all of that content just comes to my feed, maybe I don't want to be inundated with it. So maybe in that way, there's some sort of indicator. I mean, the bell icon means, please let me know when everything that Bob puts out comes. But maybe there's something like the inverse of a bell that's like, Bob's putting a lot of stuff out, but he doesn't want to show people everything. But when he's proud of something, I mean, if this is the place that you document your life and your minutia of your day-to-day events, then maybe you don't want everybody to be seeing this like pollution that you're creating around you. But just like the bell, if people are your friend and you're like, here's a celebratory thing, then that goes out. Maybe you have only X number of these things a day, or X number of these things per period of time. Yeah. Okay. So, I make my feed, and people see my stuff, and they're friends with me. I can block them, I can whatever, do that. And then once we have that, then making a group, making groups. What? Making groups? What? So once that social thing is running, what's the next step to make it work? Just adding a make a group button? Well, no, it'd have to be like join a group. I mean, for the beta, I'm going to be making the first groups, but people are going to be joining groups before they start making groups. And the simplest form of a group is just something that where you observe the flow of the data from the stream. But after that, to be productive, make a group, get busy, get productive. How do we? I mean, when people are on Facebook, they're not imagining that this thing could be productive for them, creating tasks. How are we gonna? I don't know. Okay, that's a question for another day. So join a group. So I guess join a group's just like find somebody. I mean, you can just have a search bar at the top and then like some tabs like user or group, okay? And if it's a user, you can request friendship. And if it's a group, you can like join it or request to join or whatever other like relevant tabs there are. That's cool. So that's how you get into things, right? But as a maker, like, make a group. Maybe, getting people to understand how they can be functional and productive. Maybe it's going to be hard for them to say, at first you make a group and you create some roles and all that stuff. That's going to be hard to sell because people are like, what are you talking about? But if when they join a group, then this group actually has some roles and they're just like signed up for a role, like are you a parent or a child? Are you a baker? Are you a candlestick maker? What's your job? Then, and if there's an area and they see that they're like within this org chart, then, they and then they see some tasks like coming to them, like do this or that. Yeah. And once they're actually exposed to the learning algorithm that's actually helping them, maybe that's the sneaky thing, right? We want to get people. So everybody knows about joining groups. That's no biggie. I mean, if you're passionate about soccer, and when you go to dictionary.com, there's like little quizzes and stuff, and say like, hey, what's this word mean? What's that word mean? Does this word mean this? Like that. This is awesome. I find that very satisfying and engaging because I like words. So similarly, let's say somebody's a soccer fanatic and they join a group about soccer, and the moderator in the soccer has created some like maybe the roles is not the first place to start to get people onto the idea of this expanded possibility set, right? Maybe maybe the key is like the learning piece, because there's lots of voting that goes on within social networking sites, like, hey, should I wear this thing, or which movie do you think's the best and why? Okay, yeah. So say I'm a soccer fanatic and I join this club, and then on Facebook, there's like, it's making people dumber, I think, because there's like not much engagement. You're just consuming data like stupidly. It's like a step backwards in society, kind of. So So in that sense, in that sense, wait for it. Come on, thinker. Think you're thinking. In that sense, whoa. In that sense, when people join this thing and they're like, this looks like YouTube, there's no reason to be here. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. There's no reason to be there. Sure. YouTube's huge. This thing sucks in the beginning, right? Then somebody naively joins a group. Say, let's stick with the soccer thing. So you're a soccer fanatic, right? And then we have some polls like everybody's seen before. Like, hey, what soccer team's the best? Or who do you think's gonna win this game or win the cup or whatever? And then we can add other things like, hey, what users, what like players are you passionate about? These people. And then you could ask a question like, hey, who kicked the winning goal of the game in X year? And if they get it wrong, then the machine's like, haha. If you say you're passionate about soccer, by assuming that, since you came here, you should probably be passionate about soccer, then later it's going to come back to you and say, hey, who was the person that won the game in this year? And it comes up and then the person gets it right and then they have a sense of accomplishment and they're like, hey, I like this thing because stupid YouTube is really like, it's awesome, it's great, but it's like kind of hollow. There's more to do than just watch content, right? To engage your brain. I mean, playlists on YouTube at least are like a step in the right direction to say, okay, let's at least sequence things. If it's sequencing content that doesn't really stimulate your brain, then, oh God, you're just like expanding your waste of time. But if it's, educational or informative or somehow inspiring or something, then that's good. So then, so yeah, and then we come back and we say, hey, what about this? What about that? Or who's this? Yeah, like who's this player? Who's that player? And you forget. And then maybe you could have some score, right? And you could say like, hey, you know all of the players on this team. And if you're passionate about this team, maybe you don't know this player. And if you want to know this player, then, by darn tootin', you're going to probably want to like review that, right? So that's actually encouraging passion for knowledge. That's fantastic. And, many times I've been watching videos and there's some like math concepts in there and I'm rusty on my math because it's been a while. And I'm like, I don't understand that. And then a video goes by and I do nothing on YouTube. That's crazy. I should be able to say, I don't get this math concept and I want to get it. And maybe we figure out, I don't know that concept because there's 7 other concepts that are weak. And I need to like improve my awareness of that concept, right? So, yeah. So I think when we start like giving users access to structures that let people like pursue their knowledge, then I think that's really interesting. Once people start getting used to that, and I think anybody with any passion is going to feel like interested in that because they have something they like, they have something they're passionate about. And when this algorithm starts, working with them to learn something, I think it's gonna tickle their funny bone. I think they're gonna enjoy that. So then maybe the first ways that people are gonna be creating and stretching out in this system is to say, I've made a group, I have members, and now I'm creating knowledge, creating structures of and sequences of information for people to learn that are relevant to one topic. I've already talked about that a lot on other videos. So once people start to see like the use in that, then how do we make the leap to being productive? I think people aren't going to be making knowledge right away. they're probably going to see it happen. Like, hey, this is what people are doing. And, it, you know, to engage me with information. And I like that. So I'm going to do it now too. I'm sure most people don't come to Wikipedia to initially create knowledge. Probably they've come there to look for something and then felt inspiration to add their knowledge because of like how cool the platform is, right? Okay. So probably, I mean, people are not going to come to this thing because it's like YouTube. That's ridiculous. So why are they going to come? Who cares? Figure it out later. But so you have a feed, and in this feed you can see people and see their content, and you can join groups, and also you can be engaged with the content learning management system. Also your friends. I mean, any individual. If I'm passionate about, I don't know, tennis playing, I'm not a group, I'm just an individual. I could create a structure on my own. So then what's that called? I mean, it's not really me calling myself like a hobby. Is it a hobby? I mean, if I want to create a group that is a nonprofit organization for recycling, then I create a group, right? But if I just want to share my passion around tennis, then is that called a tennis group? I mean, is group the right word? Passion. Interests. Yeah. Interests. Maybe it's like groups and interests. I mean, how many people are going to click the group and say, click the add a group when they're just an individual and say, I mean, if I love tennis, for example, how many people are going to click that button and say, you know, I love tennis, I want to create a group. Like, what are you talking about? Group. Maybe just interest. So on many websites, when you're working, then you enter your interests or your passions. Never mind a group. So say I'm interested in yoga or health or tennis or skiing or woodworking or I don't know, whatever. Then that's an interest. And then if I'm interested in it, then probably if there's a nice interface, I'm probably interested in interacting with it. So let's say I'm interested in, I don't know, hiking. Okay. So I'm interested in hiking. That's so ironic. Look at that. It's a hiking thing. So I'm interested in hiking. There's nobody here. Somebody forgot their hiking thing. Their hiking stick. Okay, so I'm interested in hiking. And so then how do we, I mean, maybe when you're interested in hiking, then you can be exposed to the knowledge trees of other people that are interested in hiking, about hiking routes, about hiking shoes, about hiking whatever. And then maybe the machine says, hey, can you tell me some things that, like the 5 main topics related to hiking. Maybe like where to hike and what to hike. So you're kind of gathering stuff, right? So it's kind of like seeking to inspire, kind of like blogs. Maybe interest is like blogs. Oh my God. Maybe that's the concept. It's kind of static, not like a rolling thing. It's kind of like a repository of knowledge. Maybe a blog is kind of similar to that tree of knowledge concept that I was talking about before. So, yeah, maybe. That makes sense. So then I say, okay, I'm so interested in basket weaving. Okay, wow. And then maybe one day I'm seeing my feed and then maybe it says like, hey, tell me the, 5 points of interest that are related to basket weaving, right? And that way you'd share your topics, and so then the algorithm would become aware that, this topic, basket weaving, exists, and then somebody has a passion for it, and then, here are some things that people might be thinking about when they're thinking about basket weaving. Yeah. And of course, like, never mind all the verification and all the abuse. People are going to goof around and say stupid things like, tell me about basket weaving. Okay, well, somebody's going to say, you got to get these types of shoelaces and this flavor of toothpaste and you got to get this brand of motor oil. They're going to mess with things, right? So the whole verification process, like, that's all dealt with on another video. You know, is what is being said, is it true? I mean, is it objectively true or subjectively true? So that's kind of irrelevant to this moment of conversation. So yeah, interest. I like this. My thing is. Okay. Ooh, nice. That's cool. So interest, right? And I'm sure, like, yeah, it's kind of like a feed, like within your feed, maybe. So then, maybe the primary thing, maybe it's like change management, right? How do you disrupt people's addiction to those social feeds? And they have nothing better to do. It's like little kids when they have nothing better to do. They just make a mess and scream and yell. So how do we get them away from that? You know, I'm loving my soccer. So then up pops like, hey, can you name all the members in this group? You know, and there's like soccer people's names, and it may be in the beginning it's just like multiple choice, right? And we're like, well, I can do it. That's amazing. And then you get some sort of badge. That's a good idea. You get some sort of badge within the system to say, you know, here are these levels of knowledge, and I am fluent in them in an area that I have passions, kind of like a point of pride, and it can become a new way of like engaging with stuff, right? So that's in terms of like your passions. And then with that basket weaving thing, so that's about like learning your passions, but what about exploring and expanding your passions? I mean, at first the algorithm has no idea about what basket weaving is or soccer, right? And then some douchebag's gonna come and say, hey, well, the top 5 things you need to know. I mean, I think that's a good idea. Tell me something you need to know about basket weaving. Tell me a topic like that, or maybe tell me the top 5 or something. And maybe if there's some sort of gamified thing, you get some sort of badge or something. So anyway, some douchebag's gonna say, oh, tell me the top 5 things of basket weaving, and you're gonna say something stupid like Luke Skywalker and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and, you know, Vanilla Ice and like tomato paste, and then also like bamboo for basket weaving. Okay, so anyways, so then we go through the verification process and we realize that's stupid, and then also that has like a trust setting that's irrelevant for this thing because that's kind of dealt with. So never mind that. So just we come to the point where we have some information that's productive and it's verifiable by some means that we will talk about in another video. Okay, and then so then the machine needs to learn about basket weaving. So like that whole thing about asset sorting, like, do we want the information just to come from people, or do we want the algorithm to actually go and read sources of information like Wikipedia and digest the information, categorizing it? It's possible. I don't want to put my brain on that right now. That's like a lot of work, but that's possible. The machine could go read about basket weaving on the web and digest the information into an organized, like, conceptual framework, not just like text that's written down. Okay, so then I say I love basket weaving, and I'm like, you know, you got to have the right trees and the right, you know, I don't know, tools, and you got to have the right, you know, engine oil. And somebody else is like, there's no engine oil. So then, you know, in another activity, you could say relevant or irrelevant. You know, what's relevant to bikes? And then you see a helmet, cool. You see a potato, that's not relevant to bikes, right? So it's kind of like a quiz format that people can, you know, it seems playful, right? It might even seem comical. So in that same way, you know, maybe we have a question and somebody else says they're passionate about basket weaving, and then we say, okay, what's relevant to basket weaving? And the machine doesn't know. I've heard that, you know, materials, you know, bamboo and leaves are related to bamboo weaving, but also somebody said engine grease, and somebody said Luke Skywalker, and then you're like, Luke Skywalker's not relevant. So then the machine says, hey, somebody says Luke Skywalker's relevant to basket weaving, somebody says it isn't. So now we have like low confidence in Luke Skywalker's like relevance for basket weaving. Anyways, so then we verify blah blah blah. That's how the process, right? So then the machine knows about basket weaving. That's kind of introducing people to the concept of like the tree of knowledge thing that I've built there, right? So how do you get people using that? Probably playful is like a good way to say, okay, here are these parts and here are the steps, and so of all these objects, which is more important, which is more significant, right? So I think oh god, yeah, I think we need to be having people work with that concept of the asset builder, like the knowledge asset builder, like you have food, and then you have fruit and meat, and then fruit is like banana and apple, and meat is like chicken and beef, like that, right? So that kind of training, I think we need like a common language, just like in music you have like there's a musical staff, lots of things, there's a common language that people can use to communicate. In finance, there's graphs and concepts that people use to communicate financial health of a stock or information. So in that way, it would be good if we like playfully and lightly introduced that concept of the assets, so that people could start thinking about that like a branching system, right? So it's basically like folders. Sorry. Okay, so then yeah, so we need to introduce people to that kind of game. And if it's soccer players, right, we get people used to the idea of sequencing, like what comes first, what comes second, like in a soccer game, what comes first, what comes second, and what is more important than what. Here are two rules, right? So you can say which rule is more important than which rule, for example. So getting people used to filtering information by significance and sequencing information by order, like 1, 2, 3, right? So when people would start to build those, so oh my god, we could have some sort of like internal reference key for people in the system that have internalized the concept for how to filter and sequence and cull data. So once those people they come to a certain level of fluency, they're kind of primed for the creation of knowledge content and all content, because they have that framework for organizing information, grafted onto their brain pan. That's great. So when those people who have been playing these little games, just little questions, right? I mean, it could just be related to a question format. If they're passionate about soccer and they have soccer players, you could say, hey, who would you play first? Who would you play second? Or who's a better player than? That's filtering, right? And maybe there's, if you want to play soccer, what do you need to do? You need to get shoes, you need to do stretching. So okay, for a daily warm-up, what exercises would you do? I do these 5 exercises. Which would you do first, second, third? So get people's brains primed, the psychological priming of an awareness of the sequencing process, how to put stuff in order. So once we say like, oh, internally, I have seen that this individual is like actually quite good at sequencing and culling and interpolating and extrapolating and all those other like cognitive processes, right? Then we can be saying, hey, this person can be like, they're ripe for the picking. So when we're going to come to like the knowledge generation, so say that person is really passionate about basket weaving, so then we can say, okay, hey, what are the steps in making a basket? And then they're like, well, here's the 20 steps, and they've kind of already thought about that, right? About the process of organizing information. Okay, then they know about sequencing better than other people. So we can put these things in bricks and say, okay, you sequence that for me. What's first, second, third? And then what do you need and how do you do it? And then that kind of stuff. So so how do we work with change management, a philosophy, to get folks to wake up and stop just digesting information, so they become more active? I mean, simply asking questions like multiple choice at first, I guess, and then later asking the producer, like, who is this person? Not just, is this ABCD person, right? And then also like getting them to sort. That's a different way of processing information. Like, who's better, or then sequencing stuff and then filtering stuff. Once people are good with that and they start to like enjoy that because it feels good. I've done it with kids for like decades. Then they start to internalize that concept and enjoy that. Then that's So one of the key concepts of change management is disrupt the status quo. So if people are feeling less satisfied with the concept of just watching stuff, I mean, I love going to YouTube. Who doesn't love going to YouTube? Their algorithm is so smart. It shows me something I love to see all the time, right? But if your brain starts to also get to enjoy the feeling of the beauty of creating clarity out of information, then you could start to be potentially dissatisfied. I mean, why do people go to YouTube? Because it's very satisfying. So why might somebody want to turn away from simply staring at that social thing all the time? It could be related to like introducing them to satisfaction with, and the option of another activity. I mean, if you just offer people like this one choice, then they're going to be, they're going to become like these slaves to this like basically stupid modality. I mean, you go to YouTube to learn something. That's great, awesome. Many people are doing that. That's great. But YouTube itself is just so limited. So we get people working with their feeds, and we sprinkle in questions. We sprinkle in the introduction to like knowledge asset management with all the cognitive tools presented as games, and people start to get used to that. And then we slowly get them to like create some content, and then some people are going to become experts in creating content, and now they're creating content that is engaging for others, and those people are going to get sucked into being engaged by engaging information. All right. Okay. Can I sum up? I don't. That's a lot. It's like an hour. So what am I going to do? I got like a couple hours before I sleep. So I log into my account, I select my profile, and I can get into my stream. And is there a differentiator at the top? Is it just my stream, or is it my work stream, my play stream? I think it's gotta be, does it? I don't know. Yeah, hopefully we could watch the numbers, and like at first people are just like always in their play stream, and then after a while they start to like, we could watch how people migrate into like the play stream to the work stream more and more. Hopefully they would. Or it's hopefully we could. That would be fascinating to watch the balance of like the flow of how people go from like play to work and work to play, and who's more productive and how successful are people that, and what is the correct recipe. I mean, I can guess what their correct recipe is, but I don't know. I'm just one meat computer. Okay, so go make the feed, pictures and videos and sound and text, and it comes up in cards just like like the Google UI. And I can delete posts, and then other people can do the same, and then I can make friendships. That's my first kind of group, right? I make friends, so I have a friends list, and then people can see my stuff. So that's the basics of Facebook, the basics, right? The heart of it. And then once that's going, then I guess the first step is not creating like is the first step creating the groups or creating the interests? I mean, there's arguments for both. Well, it's definitely groups, because if people are used to making posts and making a feed of their own, then creating a interest specific group where people can go and share their passions. That's definitely like the second thing. That's the most natural step, right? And so then creating groups. Okay. So then there's like my groups, my friends and my groups. How does Facebook list that? I don't know. Okay, so my friends and my groups. Yeah. Okay. And then I can go to my groups and see those feeds. And then where my main feed goes down the middle, and then where do my friends go, and where do the groups go? Maybe it's like a tab, like you click and you see your friends list on the left hand side, like a rolling scrolling list, and then you can also click and see your rolling scrolling list of like just be a fast follower. Just check out fast follower. Just be a follower of Facebook. Just start off there. What do they do? I think that's probably going to be enough for tonight. And then the knowledge, all that other stuff. Okay. Hey, we're at 1 hour. Yippee-doo. Anyways, it's not so cold here tonight. It's nice. So this is Seoul, Korea, and hopefully the spring comes. Okay, peace. Ciao.